Welcome to week 3. This week we're going to talk about the guys and gals that lead the team, how they're set up, and what they ultimately do with the resources that the company has acquired. So when you look at your definition of management, you see that there are 4 main functions: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Okay, it's all about taking those resources that company has and going ahead and putting in each one of those buckets. So, to give you a little information, here's a diagram. You see that we have all 4 buckets: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And they all have straight line responsibilities to each other. But they also have dotted line responsibilities. So if I'm going to be involved with the planning function, it might involve organizing the team to do it. It might involve who's going to lead that team to do it. And then putting steps in place to go ahead and control or measure the activity. If we're organizing, we might have to organize what are we going to control? Who are we going to lead? And how does that facilitate with the plan? So if you look at the diagram real close, it starts out with planning and then goes to organizing, then to leading and controlling. You have to do the steps in order, set them up in order, but then you can go ahead and take a look at your organization. How are we going to control our organization? Our planning, how are we going to lead? So the first piece of the puzzle is to look at the 4 steps, see how they relate to each other, and then make sure that we get the process done complete. Because we know that this is a process. And earlier when we talked about a process, we know that in order to change behavior, you have to change the process. How's it all set up? With 3 types of managers. We've got our top manager, who's responsible for the firm's overall performance. Middle manager, they do the implementing. And first line manager, they are the closest to the workers. They are the immediate supervisors of your workers. So look at it this way. If you're working in a factory, that next person right above you, that's going to be your first line, or what they call frontline manager. He or she is going to report to a middle manager, maybe a director level, or senior manager is what they like to call them. Then they will report to a top manager, might be another director level, or might be a vice president level. When you think in terms of this, look at the middle manager. They are very critical. Why? Because they report to the top manager, but they have the frontline workers reporting to them. So if you have strong middle managers, you're going to have strong what? Planning, controlling, organization, and operational things going on. So here's an organizational chart for a very small business. Starting from the top, you've got the president/owner. He has 3 different folks that report to him. As you notice, they are all on the same level. So those might be your top managers. Then all of a sudden you see the next layer. Each one of those folks has 2 people reporting to them. Now, you could go down and there might be individuals reporting to each one of your folks in the orange block. Doesn't have to be, but let's look at the one that says office manager. Chances are, if that person is the manager of the office, they've got admin personnel working for them. So there'll be multiple blocks underneath that. Then you've got your nursery manager. Look at the supervisor. Chances are they have people that are actually working out in the store or out in the yards getting product ready. So when you see that term manager, chances are they've got people that report to them. Next up, how do we figure out what our organizational structure is? Well, it's based on the mission, okay, and we know that the definition of the mission is, what do we do? What does our company do? That's your mission when you think about mission statements. Strategy is what? The activities that we want to execute to go ahead and implement our mission. A lot of it's based on the size. Depending on companies, there might be people with multiple roles. Then you've got your internal environment. That means how folks all function together. What involves people taking care of their particular positions, their particular jobs. Then you've got the external environment. That could be competition, could be government, could be geographic setups, could be a lot of things that affect your business that you have no control over. So when we think in terms of organizational structure, it's all based on what? The levels that we have set up, the managers, the process that we go through, and then ultimately what we do with those resources. So, plan, organize, schedule, and control. Does that look familiar? That was our first slide that talks about what we're going to do. We need inputs, not just physical materials, but think about all of the inputs that we need. Then we have to go ahead and take that and transform that. Might be data, might be the conversion of raw materials. Chances are we're going to have some problems we have to take care of, and then ultimately getting the goods and services to the consumer. That is the final piece of the puzzle. So we started from scratch, and ultimately with our 4-step process, we indicated who the managers were going to be. We set up our strategy. It's based off of our mission. We know what we're going to use to make our products. We know how we're going to make our products. And then ultimately, we're going to get those products and services to the customer to satisfy their needs and wants. That's your schedule for this week. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you next week.